Hey humans, how's it going? Susan Ruth here. Thank you for listening to another episode of Hey Human Podcast. This is episode 41, and I had a great talk with Evan Kidd. He is a filmmaker, a writer, director most recently of a movie called Son of Clowns. But don't let the name fool you, it's not a horror story. I know a lot of us do not like clowns at all, but it's actually, how would you describe this? A narrative drama, I suppose, although there are moments that are fun and funny. It's a more serious film, I would say. And Evan was kind enough to chat with me over Skype about the process of making the movie and movies in general and what it's like to write and direct and his background. He recommends film festivals and all sorts of things. So it was a good chat. The usual stuff, of course. Please rate, review, subscribe to Hey Human on iTunes. It's super helpful. I have noticed that a couple people have put up reviews recently, and I really, really appreciate it. Also, I got this idea from Chris D'Elia on his podcast, which is called Congratulations. It's a fun podcast. But he had a great idea. He said, hey, everybody listening to the podcast, snapshot a picture of the podcast and like on your iPhone or whatever, the little icon or whatnot, and get it out there in the world. Tell your friends to listen. Spread the word. It really helps get the word out, and I so appreciate it. And thanks to Chris D'Elia, who I don't know, but it's a really good idea. Next time you're in Nashville, man, I'll buy you a cup of coffee for the idea. What else? Let's see. I'm on the iTunes and all the social media and Stitcher and Blueberry and Podbean, all the places. HeyHumanPodcast.com. I put a ton of links up for this episode and also for episode 40 when I talked to John Angelos. So lots of links to look at from all the episodes. And I wanted to bring up too, before we get started with Evan, that I went to see Annie Wah after she was on my podcast, and she talked about all the different modalities that she does, therapeutic modalities, and I went and had a session with her, and it was, I'm not kidding, incredible. It was so incredible. And it's funny because right after my session with her, I went to a friend's house for chili, and one of my friends that was there looked at me and said, did you just have sex? And I started laughing. I said, no, but I just had the most amazing session with Annie Wah, and I've told all my friends to go see her. I'm not getting paid to say this, by the way. This is just straight up facts. This woman, I don't know, man, it is some good stuff. So check her out, anniewah.com. The link's on the Hey Human podcast. She's the bomb, for real. Anyway, all the good stuff, as usual. Just keep listening, keep spreading the word. Super duper appreciate it. This is so much fun to do. And by the way, Friday is my last day at my day job, and I songwrite for a living as well. But my day job is going to be done, completely done, and I will be able to do all this creative stuff full time. So the podcast and my songwriting and my performing and all that, I'm really excited. And for those of you who are going, wait, performing? I didn't even know. I'm also a songwriter and a performer and all that stuff. So you can find me on iTunes under Susan Ruth if you want to check out my music. Super cool, but that's not really what this is about. This is about the podcast. So I'm really excited to have time during the day to go talk to people. There's a lot of people that I've wanted to get on the show, and our schedules are just conflicting because I didn't have the ability to do it during the day. So now I do, and I'm really excited about it, and I'll even be able to travel to places to talk to people. Some good stuff coming up in future episodes, and great stuff already happening in previous episodes. So if you haven't gone back through the different, let's see, if this is episode 41, it's 41 weeks. That's a lot of weeks worth of episodes. So if you haven't binge listened or anything, go back to the beginning. There's some really great conversations I had. Ruby Amanfu and Adam Shelby was a great conversation, and William Puckett, who does UFO researching, and just good stuff. Anyway, enough about all that. Let's get to it. This is Evan Kidd, director and writer of the movie Son of Clowns. And enjoy. Hi, Evan Kidd.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm well, thanks. Welcome to Hey Human.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah, so you are many things, a writer, a director. Do you act as well?
Not well, I guess. Here and there, like Hitchcock cameos, but yeah, more behind the camera.
You let everybody else do the stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good. So, you sent me your information and I watched your movie Son of Clowns. It's very dark. It's got like this very dark thing. Honestly, my favorite scene in the whole movie was the monologue, where he redeems himself, and yeah, that was cool. What brought you to write such a dark film? I mean, you kind of are rooting for him about halfway through. You're like, this guy's kind of a dick.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to write a film that was, a mixture of a character that you kind of don't want to like at first, but then you kind of eventually, fall into. They say in filmmaking, if you want to know someone, you make them your main character. And so, especially for someone who is kind of like dark, like Hudson and Son of Clowns, you want to make sure that he's relatable, but at the same time, if you're not going to root for him, you want to give the audience a reason why they should root for him later on. And, a great show that kind of did that really well was Breaking Bad. And, obviously you're not the biggest fan of Walter White by the end of the story, so it kind of goes in reverse of what I did. I kind of started out with someone who was a little unlikable, and then kind of eventually redeems himself throughout the course of the story.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to challenge myself, because a lot of the stuff I wrote prior to Son of Clowns was, more heroic, more traditional characters, and so I kind of wanted to, mix it up a little bit.
The anti-hero.
Yeah, exactly.
There was a theme that picked up about halfway through the movie that when, I don't want to give anything away, but that has to do with silence and listening and all that. And but it felt like you didn't really carry it all the way, like that character to me, that woman, she was sort of like a guru in a way, And I don't know if I felt like at the end when he gave his monologue, I was like, oh, he did hear her. But he didn't give any indication. I was like, did he hear anything she said?
Yeah. That was an interesting scene, the scene between Hudson and Ellie, because Ellie is kind of a guru character in a way, and she's the side of Hudson that he doesn't have, and so Hudson is very closed off. He's very in his own head. He doesn't really associate with a lot of people because he's always doing his own thing and kind of struggling on the inside.
Yeah. And
then Ellie is just so busy with her life, and she's doing all these other things that a lot of times she's a little more observational than he may be, and so she can kind of point things out that are kind of glaringly obvious. You say people can see things right away that could take you years. And, that's kind of what I was hinting at there. And then obviously the monologue at the end of the movie you're talking about, he does kind of figure it out. He does kind of get into his groove. And, he definitely has Ellie to thank for that.
Yeah. How long did it take you to make the movie?
So the movie was shot really fast. We shot it in 10 days. So that's a super grueling, crazy schedule. Yeah, especially for a feature. Which was my first feature, so we really didn't know how that was going to go at the time. We'd done shorts and other little projects and documentaries, but as far as like a full feature film, this was it. And so we were really kind of figuring a lot of stuff out as we went, but we planned really well, I think, beforehand. So we had a very tight kind of 2-week window over those 10 days to shoot, and so we really only had like 2 or 3 days off, and everything else was prepping and shooting and mastering that script to the best that it could be. And so definitely learned a lot along the way. So hopefully for round 2.
For the aspiring filmmakers, what are some of the things you learned that you can impart on others?
I would say definitely don't shoot it in 10 days if you don't have to. That would be number one. I mean, it's not impossible. It's definitely doable, as we kind of proved, but at the same time, I've been shooting a new project lately, and I've been taking a lot, more time with it, and I was like, man, this is feeling pretty nice, to be able to not go so fast, and, but I think we did something interesting by going that fast. Like, I think the interesting fact about that is, we didn't have a lot of time to second guess ourselves, and we didn't have a lot of time to kind of get lost in the minutia of everything, and so more or less, I feel like it yielded some really interesting results that we might not have gotten in a more traditional, sense. But yeah, that process of, independent filmmaking, like, we shot this at a micro budget level, which basically means we had no budget, like $1,000 was pretty much it. And we like raised a little bit, like, to distribute it later. But like really it was just gas and food, and like everyone volunteered for this film. Like it was a labor of love through and through. Like no one, I don't think, thought at the beginning that we could maybe pull this off but ourselves. Like I think other people might have been like, yeah, we'll see how that goes, but like I think the only people that really believed in it were the people who were in the project. And so I think that's what made it special.
What did you shoot with?
We shot it on a Canon C100.
Okay.
So it's a pretty solid camera. It's kind of a higher powered cousin of a lot of the like DSLR cameras you see a lot in kind of shorts and micro budget cinema. But it gave us a nice look. My cinematographer Ned Phillips, that was his personal camera, and I think it was a good choice technically.
Yeah, I thought visually everything played off nicely. It felt like an indie film, but that's a compliment. You know what I mean? Like it felt like it wasn't trying to overdo itself with anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that we wanted to keep the story complex, but the execution and the premise simple.
Yeah.
Keep it accessible for people, because I'm not the biggest fan of giant aliens and explosions and all that kind of crap that we see.
I
it's
love
fun,
aliens.
sure. Oh, aliens! If it's done right, I will say that. Yeah, if it's done right, I'm a good sci-fi film nerd, but I think a lot of times the easy way out is taken. More often than not, and so I think we have to challenge ourselves as an audience to like look for higher quality aliens, because like we can make higher quality alien films, but I feel like lately, like Independence Day 2, cough cough, like that just was
I didn't see
a wonderful film.
Yeah, I couldn't bear to go see it.
You don't need to. Yeah, nothing missed.
Yeah, I'm kind of a purist with those movies, like
Yeah,
I did love. Yeah, I loved Cowboys and Aliens. I thought that was a great.
Oh,
film.
I did too. That was a fun little experiment. Like it was like a little bit flawed as a movie, but like as a premise, I just loved the fact that existed in the world.
Me too. So, who are some of your favorite filmmakers?
My list is often too long to name in any particular order, but I'll throw a few. Destin Cretton is probably a guy I really like a lot lately. He's kind of an independent film guy. Kind of came up through South by Southwest and Sundance and all that stuff a couple years back. But he had originally a short film called Short Term 12, which he later adapted into a feature. And I thought that was just one of the best films I'd seen in the last 10 years. It's very simple in premise. Yeah, it's on Netflix streaming, I believe, and it's just absolutely phenomenal. And it kind of encompassed everything I want to make when I make films. I mean, it's about like a foster care facility, and just the staff taking care of the kids, and the kids kind of taking care of the staff. And it was just such a simple concept. Like there were maybe 4 or 5 locations in the whole film. Yeah. But they just really had a strong story, and I think that's kind of the thing I go back to a lot, both in films I watch and also in my own. Is like is your story strong? Can your story stand up on its own 2 feet? Kind of going back to the CGI aliens, like that's all lovely, but if you don't have a good story for those CGI aliens, then kind of what are they doing there?
Sure. So did you, the minute you hit the ground running sort of thing, did you think I want to be a director and a writer, or is that something that came to later, or did you go to school? What's your background?
I always loved playing with the camera. That was kind of what did it at first. So I guess in a weird way, cinematography, which I still do to this day, not as much on my own narrative projects, but I shoot music videos and kind of like experimental stuff on the side, and so like I usually operate camera on those. But like for the more bigger stuff like Son of Clowns or my last shorts, You Wouldn't Expect or Displacement Welcomed, like all those I get cinematographers for, just because it frees me up to direct. But I think at the end of the day now, writing and directing is my passion and my calling, just because I love world building and I love creating characters, and then like being on set with the actors and having the chance to actually have a conversation with them, because it's not just show up and run the lines and go home. It's like have several Skypes, have several coffees, try and like talk it out on set beforehand. Like I love that process because it is very labor intensive, but at the same time I think it gives you a chance to really have some interesting conversations with your actors, kind of what you want to do with the character, how do you want to develop it, and kind of what do you want to see through the film.
Did you go to school for it?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I went to East Carolina University back in my home state of North Carolina.
Okay, cool. Now, I saw that Son of Clowns is making the rounds through festivals and stuff. How's that going?
It's going really well. We've played in several countries. We've played a whole bunch here in the U.S. We've actually just kind of wrapped up the festival touring at the top of this year. So really 2016 was the big year for most of that. We shot the film in the summer of 2015 and edited it for several months until the top of 2016. And then we basically spent 2016 just pushing that film out there to as many people that would take it. And I think, we played some really cool fests in, the UK. The highlight was the Chichester Film Festival. Had a, cooperation in that through the British Film Institute, BFI, so that was a huge deal. And then here in the States, my favorite festival we played among many, it's so hard to pick, but Cucaloris Film Festival, that was one in Wilmington, North Carolina that, was everything a film festival should be.
What's it called?
Cucaloris Film Festival. I would highly recommend anyone check it out. It's a weird name, but they make films and program films that filmmakers want to see, but also that audiences, don't get a chance to see, and that's what I love. It's very unique in their programming.
Yeah, that's awesome. So did you have to raise money to go to these places so that you could?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing when you have an independent film like we did that was really shot for no budget. I mean, there's no studio bankrolling your trips or anything like that. That's what's awesome about Cucaloris, because they're the film festival, of a higher tier, and they were, very adamant about supporting their filmmakers. So, they flew you out, put you up, offered you, what you needed. I mean, they were there for you. And I mean, that's what blew me away, because I've done festivals with this film that a lot of times I had to tap the projectionist and be like, hey, are we still on time to, play this? And I won't say which festivals, but that happens a few times, and it's unfortunate. And, majority of the time that doesn't happen, but when it does, it really makes you appreciate those bigger festivals that really go out of your way to, accommodate the artist. Because, I mean, a lot of times, I've had friends that tell me horror stories, they'll go to a festival and, they'll have flown halfway across the country for it, spent $500 on a plane ticket, put themselves up in a hotel for 3 nights, and 4 people came to their screening, and it wasn't promoted well. And I mean, that's just not the type of thing you want to know about. And so, festivals are tricky. I think there's a million now, so it's hard to, sometimes when you're starting out, distinguish what's worth it and what's not. But I think if you look at reviews and you look at, just talk to other filmmakers who've made the rounds, that's what helped me the most this go around, because I didn't spend as much money submitting, because I really just found the ones that, for the most part, we're worth it, and we're interested in all that. And so I think that's the thing with festivals, is just try to find ones that program stuff similar to your film and program stuff that you would want to see as an audience.
So what festivals would you recommend to people who are just now going, okay, I want to get into this, I don't really know a lot about what I'm doing, but I want to go suss it out and then write my movie or whatever? What would be a great experience for people to go to? Maybe a little bit higher end and a little medium, you know what I mean? Where they would learn the most, and people are the most, I guess, giving of their back and forth energy and time. Where you can actually walk up to somebody and say, hey, let me buy you a cup of coffee or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I've raved on it, but that is Cucaloris. The networking, it's in Wilmington, North Carolina, which was really close to where I grew up, 2 hours away. So that was a really cool excuse to go home. Because I'm in Louisiana right now, so that's a little ways away. And so, that's a highlight. Longleaf Festival in my hometown of Raleigh, North Carolina. That's another festival that's on its 3rd year now. And for being in its 3rd year, it is growing extremely well. And so give it 10 or 15 years, and I'm going to be really excited to see what it turns into. Other festivals, it really depends where you live. If you're around the East Coast and the Southeast, there's a whole bunch. That's where I'm operating around. Georgia's got a lot. Yollywood's a great festival. Atlanta Film Festival is great. New Orleans Film Festival is one of my favorites. Obviously, New Orleans is an awesome town. You can't not have fun in New Orleans.
Yeah.
So you throw a film festival in there, it's just exponentially
When does that happen?
Awesome.
Is it in the summer?
It happens in the fall. So I just went to it this past year. I didn't go with my film, but I just went as a spectator, because, like I said, I live down here, so it's super convenient, and it's just always a really fun time. Like, you meet people, like, you don't even have to be a selected filmmaker, you know, to go hang out with people. All you have to do is go in with an open mind and just talk to people.
That's
and like
cool.
A lot of people are willing to give you, you know, advice or talk to you or just give you a few minutes. Like, you know, that's what it's about. Like, I don't think there's a point in going to a festival, you know, even if you're the biggest to-do filmmaker in the world. Like, I don't think there's a point of going if you're not gonna kind of open yourself up to questions and, you know, share anything you can with people younger, older, however. You know, I think that's the most enjoyable part.
I have a friend who's in film and TV, and he comes out to the Nashville Film Festival from LA a lot, or every year.
Yeah.
I mean. And one year he's like, "Oh, you should come. I'll get you a pass to just go to a day if you want to." I was like, "Oh, that'd be great." And so after the day of events, I went and to the bar at a hotel nearby, the hotel where a lot of people were staying and stuff. I was like, "Oh, I'll just go sit at the bar," because everyone has conversations at the bar. And I went and sat down, and there was a guy next to me, just a regular looking dude. We started talking, and he told me his whole life story. He was a really nice guy, about how when he met his wife when they were in high school, and, you know, and then how he, you know, he's really spent his whole life being a creative and all that. And I was like, "Oh, so you're here for the film festival?" And he said, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." I was like, "Well, do you have a film I may have heard of or anything?" Because it's an indie film festival. He's like, "Yeah, let's see, Wanted, 310 Yuma." And I was like, like the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah, those are...
And he's just super chill.
Those are pretty big films.
Yeah, super chill, talking, like, just the nicest guy.
That's awesome.
And I thought that was
That's
so
awesome.
wonderful because, you know, I didn't want anything from him other than great conversation. So, you know, maybe he sensed that I wasn't like, "Will you take my script?" or something, because I didn't have a script.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing too, is like, you know, I wouldn't go to film festivals like, you know, trying to sell like your script. There are film markets for that, and like conventions and stuff, and a lot of that goes on behind the scenes with people you might meet somewhere like a film festival. But I think if you go to a film festival with that in mind, you might be getting into it for the wrong reasons. I think a lot of it is just trying to impart wisdom and like make connections that you then could follow up on and you know, develop stuff with.
Yeah, I always feel like in situations like that, at least from my perspective, because I'm in the music industry, that it's always best to show up and listen.
Yeah.
Stop talking.
A lot of people talk.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's exciting. So what happens next with the film, and what's your next project, and what's going on with your future?
Yeah, so the film is officially done with touring, so it's officially on Amazon Prime right now. So that's exciting, and I've never had a film on the platform, so I'm really excited about that. If you just go on Amazon and you search Son of Clowns, you can stream it free if you have Prime, which I feel like everyone has Prime because of the shipping. So if you don't have Prime, it's like $1.99 to rent, so it's like cheaper than a cup of coffee. So I'll throw that plug out there, sonofclowns.com. You can find all that good stuff. And after now that that's all done, that came out in November, so we're just promoting it really good and trying to get it out there right now that it's officially released. And so I'm doing a new series called Home Remedy in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where I'm at right now. And so that is kind of a 5-part 20-minute series, so each episode's 20 minutes, and it's kind of a comedy drama, a little more on the comedy side than Son of Clowns, because Son of Clowns was a comedy drama, but I think it lended a lot more towards drama, and this one's kind of more of an even split. And so this is going to be 5 20-minute episodes. We're doing it same way, independently, huge budget, just making it because we want to. And that'll be out later this fall in 2017, and also on Amazon Prime. So Amazon Prime is like kind of our new home for media, and I love it. So
how do you get on stuff like that? Do you just make a phone call, or?
Yeah, you got to call the Amazon Prime Santa. No, just you got. It's not actually that difficult right now. I think it used to be very difficult. You have to use Video Direct, which is a platform that basically says you are in control of promoting your media, distributing your media, and uploading it and providing all the tools and assets. So you have to subtitle your whole movie in order to get it. So that's the biggest barrier. But if you're okay with either paying someone to do that or doing it yourself, which is what I did for Son of Clowns, I just subtitled the whole movie, and that took so long. I don't even care to comment on that. It took just hours and hours and hours because you had to put the timestamp of this minute plus seconds to this one, have the text, and then go to the next one for every line that someone said in the movie. And so it was, yeah, just a long, grueling process. And so, the goal is hopefully eventually we'll get bigger and be able to, hire people to do that. But at the moment, it's kind of like one of those things you do as a trade-off as an artist, because, you want to get your stuff seen. So it's like, is it the most fun thing to do to caption your movie? No. But is it worth it once you get it out there on Amazon for people to see? And then, thousands and thousands of people can see it, of course. And so you kind of make those calls that way. But that's a very long-winded way of me saying I have a 5-part series coming later in the year. So
what is that called?
Home Remedy. It's about a door-to-door therapist who kind of practices unlicensed. And so it's about all the kooky people that he goes and makes house calls with for therapy sessions. So it's kind of a comedy.
He just knocks on the door and says...
Yeah, he has no clients, and so he basically, knocks on doors and eventually builds a roster of very strange people, and there's a lot of, interesting characters.
Oh, hilarious.
Yeah, and he does all this, completely illegally under the radar, so he's always, kind of looking over his shoulder, trying to make sure everything's kosher.
Oh, that's very funny. Do you use a lot of the same actors that were in the other one?
This one's entirely new, because all the actors for Son of Clowns were in North Carolina. So that was a North Carolina film. I made that right before I moved to Louisiana 2 years ago. And so this one is all in Louisiana now, so it's a whole new cast of people. But there are actually... that you mentioned it hasn't been confirmed yet, but if you're a fan of Son of Clowns, you actually may see one or two of the actors in this new series if they're able to kind of come down and just crash at my place and kind of visit. So
what made you move
see
there?
How that goes. The film industry, that was the biggest thing, and a job offer. At the time, I was doing cinematography a lot more, and so I was kind of doing that more to make money. And so, there's good money in being a cinematographer. But eventually, I left the job I was at just because, for me, the corporate world in the job I was in wasn't really doing it. Plus, I had to go promote Son of Clowns for a year on the festival circuit. So I kind of just took a leave and didn't look back. And, I like doing corporate projects. I still do them from time to time. And, if I found the right setting, I would totally go back. But, for me, it was just kind of a moment where I needed to jump off a cliff and try something new. And so, yeah, that's what landed me here. And then since then, I've experimented a lot with the local film scene down in Louisiana. And there's a lot of support and a lot of interesting people. I've actually made 2 documentaries on the back burner while I've been down here in addition to this series. So it's a plethora of opportunity to just jump into crazy stuff, which I love. So
that's cool. So explain for people listening who may not know, what is the difference between cinematography and, let's say, director of photography and director, and those are all very different things.
It depends on every set, big sets Transformers movies or, Steven Spielberg stuff, that's going to have, a designated director of photography, multiple camera operators, and, this, and that. For something like my film, Son of Clowns, our DP was the camera operator, DP standing for director of photography. He was the cinematographer. That's kind of all interchangeable terminology. And then, so the cinematographer is the one who touches the camera and operates the camera. On a big set, they'd have people under them doing that, but on a smaller indie set, usually that's the way it works. And TV, usually that's kind of the way it will work. And so that's what that means. And the director traditionally doesn't touch the camera. You kind of say, okay, line up this shot this way and kind of frame it this way, and then you'll take, some back and forth and advice with your cinematographer. But really, the director is in charge of really staging things, getting everyone where they need to be, and then making the actors' performances what they need to be with the actors and working with them and getting the story right. That's their biggest jobs. And so it's definitely different. I made a short film where I was the cinematographer. Like I said, I did that for a living for years, and I still can do it. It's just, it frees you up a lot more when you have someone else holding doing the technical button pushing. Yeah. So you can do more of the creative stuff with the actors. So, is it some people really like to do cinematography and direct, like Robert Rodriguez, he's a big filmmaker. He loves that, and I think it's actually really fun. I like to do that, but it's a lot more stressful. So it depends, what kind of burden and load do you want to put on yourself in terms of your work. And all that.
And I think when you go to see the finished product too, a lot of people, they're watching the film, they don't even realize just how much has gone into every little bit. The lighting in a movie, the cinematography, like the long shots versus the short, or how something pans around, and all of that is telling your brain to feel something.
Exactly.
And it's such an art.
Definitely. It's definitely an art form. And I think, a lot of times it is very easy to forget, and that's kind of its job, is to not be loud and, saying, hey, look at me, flashy. Sometimes that's fun in cinematography. But other times its job is to make you forget it's there. Yeah. And that's when it does its job the best. I mean, that's the same with editing.
I think about that with actors too, especially in those very poignant moments, very emotional moments, when as a viewer you're watching this actor being this person having this breakdown or whatever it is, or getting so emotional or so intense or so angry or whatever it is. And if you were to pan out into the room, there'd be 30 people in there, but you think you're just watching two people interact or one person. To me, that's something that is such an art form too, that actor can get into that place where all that other stuff that's actually happening around him or her, it's like, what? It's so astounding, because you don't really think about that. Obviously, you shouldn't be thinking about that when you're watching a movie. But in reality, there's so much going on, and yet they've captured this thing that your brain is only seeing what you're seeing and not thinking about all the other stuff.
It puts you in there 110%, and I love that. That's what drew me to cinema, is just, being able to tell those stories and, like, work with the actors and really, lose yourself in the story. Like, that's the best part, I mean, how often do we all go to the cinema, go to the movie theater, throw down $10 and like $5,000 for popcorn and finally get our seat and, just sit there and we just kind of float away for 2 hours. And, it's a dream.
People don't realize they're paying $1 per kernel. That's why.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Popcorn costs like, as much as it costs to make our film, essentially.
Yeah, crazy.
That's my terrible joke on the inflation of movie theater.
It's true that it's very expensive. Yeah, it is. Well, I'm so excited for you. There's lots coming. Yeah. So on the podcast website, of course, I'll put links to everything.
Awesome.
Yeah. So so they can watch Son of Clowns on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, Amazon Prime and sonofclowns.com. If you go there, you can learn more about the film and kind of watch behind the scenes videos. And if you're into all that, and then there's also a big button that's watch on Amazon Prime, so you can just click that and it'll take you where you need to go.
Is that film autobiographical in any way, or did you know a guy
yes
like
and
that?
No. Yeah, I know. It's a combination of stuff I've went through and other people that I cared about went through. So I kind of fused it all together. And it's as much of a story about caring for someone who's struggling as it is about being someone who's struggling. And so I think it's an interesting blend of all kinds of stuff. So I think you go into that movie, no matter what kind of direction you're seeing it from, I think you'll get something from it. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Definitely everyone go check out Son of Clowns on Amazon.
And Evan Kidd, let's hopefully we'll see your name up on marquees all over.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And check out too, when does the series come out?
The series is going to come out this fall, so we don't have a date just yet, but later in the fall.
Okay, that's awesome. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, see you later. Bye.
Take care. Bye.